You would think that our new government has enough on its hands: the cost of living, crumbling public services, eye-watering debt, illegal immigration, without worrying about renegotiating Brexit. I've had my differences with Boris Johnson over the years, particularly the wild and, in my view, completely failed experiment of lockdowns, which have caused untold damage to the country. But his great triumph, and for which history will judge him kindly, was getting Brexit done so that we could move on as a nation. And move on we have. Our economy currently sits at the top of the G7 biggest industrial nations in the world, ahead of America. And the International Monetary Fund has predicted that over the next 5 years, we will enjoy higher per capita growth than Germany, Italy, France and Japan. Since Brexit, we've gone from number 7 to number 4 in the world for exports. And we've just leapfrogged France to go number 8 globally as a manufacturing superpower. And we have the 6th biggest economy in the world, worth a cool $3.3 trillion annually. So call me old-fashioned, but I think that the trade deal that we struck with the EU seems to be pretty effective, particularly given that exports to the EU itself are also, wait for it, at a record high. Since Brexit, it is now in the gift of this brand new government to truly enhance the United Kingdom and transform its future. We are once again sovereign, with the ability to strike trade deals, control our borders, let's hope we do that one day, and participate in the fastest growing markets in the world, leaving behind the Eurozone, who have spent the last 2 years languishing in the red. The long-expected, long-anticipated, well-reported Brexit disaster has not happened. A housing market crash, mass unemployment, an economic depression, the flight of capital, a brain drain of our finest talent, none of it came to pass. Britain is now the most successful country in Europe, and yet Labour want to go back to them and ask for help and sacrifice our freedoms for their pleasure. Make it make sense. This is our new government fixing something that just ain't broke. Like the non-doms and the private school tax raid, this is politics, not economics. The excellent Mail on Sunday newspaper report that Sir Keir Starmer will start the process to renegotiate Britain's post-Brexit deal within weeks. The new Prime Minister reportedly wants more relaxed freedom of movement rules and lower trade barriers, and is willing to sign the UK back up to Brussels rules in exchange. Sources expect the Prime Minister to seek the removal of trade barriers in exchange for dynamic alignment. What is that? Well, it's Brussels jargon for being subjected to EU red tape. Now, Labour last night insisted the issue was not on the agenda, but Sir Keir Starmer has previously promised a, in inverted commas, much better trade deal with Brussels than the agreement signed by Boris Johnson in 2020. But as the Mail on Sunday newspaper argues, this is the thin end of the wedge. Any changes to migration and travel arrangements that the EU agrees, however harmless they might seem, would inevitably take Britain closer to obeying Brussels rules. The Irish PM has said that the European Union wants to work more closely with Sir Keir Starmer on UK-EU relations. Yikes. And as Foreign Secretary David Lammy embarks on a tour of Germany, Poland and Sweden, he has said that his desire to reset relations with Brussels is, and I quote, just the beginning. Double yikes. Now, Labour keeps saying that there will be no return to free movement or joining the customs union. But according to the heroic former Brexit negotiator Lord David Frost, this is misleading. Because with so-called dynamic alignment, he argues we would be subject to EU law and sit under the jurisdiction of the EU courts. And of course, don't forget that Starmer wants help from the EU to stop the boats, which could see a reciprocal deal in which we accept up to 100,000 migrants a year. When you finally escape a prison, the last thing you want to do is go back in. But that's exactly what could happen under a Prime Minister in Sir Keir Starmer, who fought tooth and nail to reverse Brexit whilst Shadow Brexit Secretary, backing the wrong political horse not for the first time. We are finally out. We are finally free, and Britain is thriving on the global stage. But this new Labour government risks throwing it all away by gradually taking us back in. In 2020, we got Brexit done. 4 years on, it risks being undone. Can EU believe it?